The 60s gave us muscle cars with thunder under the hood and attitude in the sheet metal. But some builders didn't just chase speed, they chased madness. Today, we're diving into the wildest, weirdest, most rule-breaking machines to ever wear a muscle badge. From winged rockets to turbocharged misfits, these cars didn't just turn heads, they twisted necks.
You can get the best buy ever on a new Mustang right now at your Ford dealer.
Number 1. AMC MARLIN. Imagine if a great white shark wore bell-bottoms. That's the AMC MARLIN. Released in 1965, the Marlin was AMC's attempt to muscle into the pony car war. But instead of a street brawler, they built a bizarre-looking fastback that looked like it was swimming through air. With its long rear overhang and fishbowl rear window, the Marlin wasn't just strange, it was aquatic. AMC called it a personal luxury fastback. The public called it confusing. Under the hood, you could get a 327 cubic inch V8, which made a decent 270 horsepower. But performance wasn't the point, it was style, or at least AMC's version of it. The Marlin flopped in sales, but today, it's a rolling relic of a company that dared to be different, even if it meant diving into uncharted waters. Number 2. Plymouth Valiant, a 990. At first glance, the 1965 Plymouth Valiant looks like your grandma's commuter. Soft lines, no flair, a family car through and through. But then you pop the hood and find a fire-breathing 426 Hemi crammed inside. This was the A990, a special drag strip homologation monster built under the radar. It weighed practically nothing, had aluminum body panels, and the legendary Elephant engine, making over 425 horsepower, though Chrysler played it cool and underrated it, as usual. Only about 50 of these existed, factory drag cars in disguise. The Valiant A990 wasn't just strange, it was dangerous. A sheep in wolf's nitro-fueled clothing. Number 3. Ford Thunderbolt. Before the Mustang made its grand entrance, Ford went full lunatic with the 1964 Fairlane Thunderbolt. Think of it as the Godzilla of muscle prototypes, barely street legal, stripped to the bone, and packing a 427 cubic inch V8 from the NASCAR galaxy. The body. Lightweight fiberglass hood and doors. The windows? Plexiglass. Even the battery was in the trunk for better weight distribution. 0 to 60 in the low 40s. Ford built just 100 Thunderbolts, mainly to dominate NHRA superstock, and dominate they did until NHRA banned them. They were just too fast. The Thunderbolt wasn't just strange, it was a missile disguised as a mid-size Ford. It burned bright and briefly. Number 4. Dodge Charger Daytona. You can't talk strange muscle without invoking the Daytona. That nose cone, that 43-inch wing. It looked like someone built a car out of an aircraft carrier blueprint and somehow made it street legal. Built in 1969, the Charger Daytona was Dodge's weapon for NASCAR supremacy. Aerodynamics were everything, and the Daytona was the first car to crack 200 miles per hour on a NASCAR track. Underneath, a 440 Magnum or the legendary 426 Hemi. It was so good, NASCAR banned it the next year. The Daytona was a muscle car mutated by science. It looked ridiculous, and it was, but it also changed racing forever. Number 5. Chevy CORVAIR MONZA SPYDER. The 60s weren't just about cubes and carburetors. Chevrolet dared to go turbo with the CORVAIR MONZA SPYDER, a compact rear-engine oddball with Porsche vibes and American ambition. Released in 1962, this was one of the first production cars in the US to feature a turbocharged engine, a flat six that made 150 horsepower. Not crazy fast, but feather-light and surprisingly agile. But then Ralph Nader happened. After unsafe at any speed accused the CORVAIR of deadly handling flaws, its reputation crashed harder than a rear-weighted corner. Still, the MONZA SPYDER remains a fascinating outlier. A sports car in muscle drag. A turbo dream born in the wrong country at the wrong time. Number 6. Buick Riviera GS. The Buick Riviera was never supposed to be a muscle car. It wore tailored suits, not leather jackets. But in 1965, Buick offered the Grand Sport package, And suddenly, this gentleman showed up with a crowbar. With a massive 425 Wildcat V8, making 360 horsepower and a switch-pitch torque converter, the GS turned the Riviera into a luxury cruise missile. It was strange because it refused to choose muscle or luxury, speed or elegance. Turns out it could have both. Think of it as James Bond with a lead foot, polished, but packing heat. Number 7. Mercury Cyclone, Spoiler 2. What do you get when Mercury tries to win at NASCAR, but Ford already built the Daytona? Answer: the 1969 Cyclone Spoiler 2. It had an extended aero-sculpted nose, flush-mounted grille, and a rear window steeper than a ski slope. Underneath? A 351 Cleveland or, in rare cases, a 428 Cobra jet. Only 351 units were made, barely enough to satisfy homologation rules. The Cyclone Spoiler 2 looked like a Daytona's less confident cousin. It was strange, rare, and kind of sad. A muscle car built to race, but born in someone else's shadow. Number 8. AMC Rambler. It looked like a 10-year-old designed it with crayons. And maybe that's what made it awesome. The 1969 SC Rambler was AMC's middle finger to the big three. Loud, boxy, and slathered in American flags. This thing screamed "America" before that was even a meme. Under the hood? A 390 V8 making 315 horsepower. 0 to 60 in 6 seconds. Quarter mile in the low 14s. And all in a car that looked like a budget commuter. Built in collaboration with Hearst, only 1,512 were made, and they're now cult legends. Strange? Absolutely. But also strangely brilliant. Number 9. Dodge Dart GTS 440. What happens when you shove a big block 440 Magnum into a compact car the size of a shoebox? You get the Dodge Dart GTS 440. In 1969, Dodge let its engineers go nuts. The result was a Dart that didn't just bark, it snarled. With 375 horsepower, it launched like a dragster and cornered like a shopping cart full of anvils. It was dangerously fast in a straight line and terrifying in every other direction. The Dart GTS 440 was strange because it was so obviously wrong, but it worked. Barely. A perfect storm of muscle madness. Number 10. Ford Mustang Mach 1. Everyone knows the Mustang Mach 1, but few know the darkest version, the 428 Super Cobra Jet Drag Pack. Released in 1969, this wasn't just a Mach 1. It was a barely disguised drag racer with beefed-up internals, a 3.91 or 4.30 rear axle, oil cooler, and a 428 SCJ good for over 400 horses. It wasn't advertised. You had to know about it. Dealers didn't promote it. Ford didn't talk about it. This was a muscle car for people who lived a quarter mile at a time and didn't want to brag about it. It was strange in its secrecy, legendary in its silence. The 1960s weren't just about brute force and quarter-mile times. They were about experimentation, risk, identity. These strange muscle cars, misfits, monsters, and marvels, proved that muscle wasn't a formula. It was a feeling, a rebellion forged in steel and gasoline. Some of these cars were laughed at, others were feared. Most were forgotten. But all of them mattered. Because sometimes the weirdest rides leave the deepest tire marks in history.